Right, we're now live.
Tim, is it possible to make contact with Rob Gittins and Les Winwood, because they are showing us online? Just wondering if they are intending to join the meeting or not.
Yeah, I'll try now.
Thanks, Tim.
Tim, according to me, it's 10 a.m.
Keith, I'm wondering whether it's just waiting a couple more minutes to see if Les Winwood or... That's fine.
I see Rob has joined us.
Yeah, he's on there.
Perfect.
Good morning, Mr. Gittins.
Good morning there, Chair. How are you doing?
I'm absolutely fine, and nice to see your smiling face on the bottom of the screen. How's the little one?
You just need to unmute yourself, Councillor Gittins.
Yes, all very well. She's crawling around.
Oh, good. Keep me busy then.
Indeed so. Yes, definitely. How's things with you, Keith?
Yeah, fine.
Chair,
yes,
just a reminder that this is now being broadcast to the public, so members of the public can hear all conversations that are taking place.
Yeah, I'm going to start anyway in a minute because it.
Keith, sorry, Tim, have you managed to make contact with Les Winwood?
No, you're muted, Tim. Tim, you're muted.
I have pinged him a join invite, but
Keith, are you happy to start the meeting then, and then for Councillor Winwood to join if he's going to?
Yeah, definitely.
he's on the phone. Somebody looking at his.
Okay, so everybody ready? I'm going to start the meeting. Good morning and welcome to the Strategic Licensing Committee meeting of Wednesday the 17th of June 2020. I'm Councillor Keith Roberts, Chairman of the committee. I'm obliged to inform you that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Members of the public will be able to hear the audio of the meeting and view the papers shown on the screen. This meeting is being held using remote technology, and should any committee members experience technical difficulties during the meeting, they should immediately contact the designated IT officer on the number they've already been supplied with. Everyone is requested to mute their microphones unless asked to speak. Please only use the chat function to indicate the desire to speak. Do not use it for anything else, so that it is clear who is asking to speak, and the debate has to be heard by those listening to the audio feed. As chair, I will interpret the council's existing standing orders in light of the requirements of remote participation, with advice from the monitoring officer prior to making a ruling. At the start of the meeting, I'll ask members of the committee to confirm their presence and any disclosable peculiar interest they have in any of the items on the agenda. I will ask everyone that speaks during the meeting, including members of the committee and officers, to introduce themselves each time before they speak. This is so those listening know who is speaking. We'll now carry out a roll call and ask for individual peculiar interests. Members are reminded to disclose any peculiar interest in any matters to be discussed, which is not included in the register of interests, and leave the meeting prior to the matter being disclosed. So I will say, as chair, I am present. Simon Jones.
Yes, vice chair, I'm present.
Peter Adams. No. Roy Allcroft. Claire Aspinall. Rob Gittins.
Councillor Rob Gittins present, no in trusts, chair.
Thank you. Nigel Harting.
Present, chair, no interest to declare.
Thank you. Paul Milner. Pam Mosley.
Pam Mosley present.
Thank you. Kevin Pardy.
Present, no interests.
Thank you. Vivian Parry.
Present, no interest, Vivian Parry.
Thank you. Robert Tyndall.
Present, no interest to declare.
Thank you. Dave Tremelian.
Present, no interest.
Thank you. And lastly, Leslie Winwood. No, not present. We shall now go on to turn to the items on the agenda. First of all, apologies.
Thank you, Chair. Tim Ward, Committee Officer. We've received apologies from Councillor Nick Hignett. No substitutions.
Okay. Shall we at this stage introduce the officers that are present, Tim? Yep. Yes.
Yes, Chair. Maybe useful for those that are listening in.
Yeah. So if you could start off, Tim, please.
My name's Tim Ward. I'm Committee Officer for the committee.
Thank you. Louise Prince.
I'm Louise Prince, solicitor with the council, and I'm legal advisor to the committee this morning.
Thank you. Mandy Beaver.
Mandy Beaver, transactional licensing manager.
And Ross, you're here somewhere.
Morning, Chair. Public Protection Officer Ross O'Neill, work for licensing. Thank
you. And there's nobody else present, is there? So let's move on.
Chair Matthew Aldridge is also present.
Oh, sorry, Matthew. Missed you.
Yeah, Matthew Aldridge, Health Protection Team Manager within Regulatory Services.
Okay, thank you. Move on then to item 2 on the agenda, minutes, to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 4th of December 2019. I move that the minutes of the Strategic Licensing Committee be held on the 4th of December 2019 as circulated with the agenda papers be signed as a correct record. Can I please have a seconder?
Yes, I'll second that.
I'll second that, Councillor Jones.
Nigel, could you introduce yourself and
yes,
yours?
Councillor Nigel Harton, I'm happy to second.
Okay, thank you for that. Public questions now on number 3. The following public question has been received from Mr. Phil Taylor. I will read the question and the response. In January 2019, I wrote to the CCC Licensing Services regarding the potential creation of a PHV monopoly with Go Cars, acquisition of both Vincent's and Comet taxi companies. Living in Westbury, which, as with other rural communities, have a restricted bus service and therefore have to rely on PHV operators to travel to hospital appointments, etc. When access to own transport is not an option or unable to drive. As my wife and myself are senior citizens, the lack of PHV competition is a great a grave concern, as once a monopoly created and no authority can control over PHV charges, there will be price increases which cannot be controlled by either competition or regulation. After several attempts to expedite the response, I finally received one in May, which outlined the current government licensing regulation stroke policy for PHV and constraints local licensing authorities are under. In January this year, the inevitable happened when Go Cars acquired ABC Taxis, effectively only leaving 2 other sizable PHV operators within Shrewsbury. I would hope the committee would agree this is far from an ideal situation for both Shrewsbury and the surrounding villages, residents and taxi drivers. Understand from speaking with other taxi drivers, there is now a good chance that Shrewsbury taxis will also become part of the Go Cars empire. I have contacted the Shropshire Star as I think this situation is a newsworthy article. The local Shrewsbury office told me they may consider publishing an article but appear to require backing of local councillors and MPs, as they do want not want to appear to be biased against Go Cars. I understand their reluctance, but as I suggested, there is no need to name specific companies, as it's a case of if the cap fits. Licensing Services suggested I could also contact Strategic Licensing Committee and write to local MPs. I have written to Daniel Jakinski, and last week I will write to Owen Patterson and Council Leader Clive Wright to canvass support in campaigning, lobbying the relevant government departments. I think the general census is the 2015 deregulation, which allowed for cross-border working, is in main responsible for the mess of PHV licensing and led to creation of a monopoly within Shrewsbury. I understand there is a committee meeting scheduled for the 11th of March and would ask for this issue to be added to the agenda. I have attached other communications relating to both my 2019 and this year's attempt to raise awareness and gain support from both the media, local government and MPs. I look forward to your response, and that's signed, regards, Phil Taylor. Bear with me when I have a drink. And that response from Shropshire Council Licensing Department, the communications provided by Phil Taylor relating to his attempts in 2019 and 2020 to raise awareness and gain support from the media, local government and MPs have been reviewed. The information within these communications has been considered together with relevant council licensing data and information available from the Competition and Markets Authority, brackets the CMA. This has collectively informed the following response. Go Cars is the largest private hire operator operating in Shropshire, followed by Diamond Cars and Shrewsbury Cars, based on the number of vehicles that each operator is licensed to operate by Shropshire Council. There is an indication that the market share held by each operator is likely to be in the region of 36%, 17% and 10% respectively. There are a further 149 small and medium-sized private hire operators licensed by Shropshire Council that share the remaining 37% of the market. It is not possible to take into account with any degree of accuracy the impact on market share created by those vehicles that operate within Shropshire and are licensed by other local authorities. Although it can be concluded that it will have an impact on it, and it is likely that the Go Cars market share will be more than 36% and the others less. This does not create a monopoly situation in Shropshire. Shropshire Council is unable to comment on the specific commercial details of any taxi or private hire business, including